October meeting of the Cabell County Master Gardeners Association. For all those people here, welcome. I want to make sure you sign up. And I don't know how we're going to do the sign up on the Zoom. I think he'll have a copy of that. Now we have to translate it to regular paper. But glad everybody could join us. We're excited about this facility, guys. You really need to look at this facility. I'm going to take some more pictures of everybody when they're in class. Once we get going, hopefully we can all get back together. So we can do these meetings in person, which energizes me. And that's the reason I joined the Master Gardener Association, not only to share knowledge, but also to interact with one another and help each other. Each of us have, and you'll hear me say this many times, we all have different interests, and we can specialize in certain things. For example, Linda Mallory's got a beautiful greenhouse that she brought our door prizes today. But I don't know if she climbs trees. She probably does. I mean, I'm just using that as an example. She probably cuts trees down, you know, and that could be something
wood all day today.
A master gardener could do. But I know Linda does a tremendous job. And anyway, hopefully you will visit us. We are socially distant right now. All of us are wearing masks. So hopefully you'll feel, I think, really courageous enough to come in. I've been vaccinated. Most of us have been. So we hope that we can get together in our November meeting. So with that in mind, we're now organized. I would like to introduce a gentleman that I met this spring, right when I was starting to learn to actually had my seedlings in the ground, and I had my grow lights on and this, that, and the other, and they were sprouting up. And I was all interested in sprouting. Seriously, you know, to making sure my plants were coming alive and they were responding to the light. And I really don't know how Baxter and I met, probably on Facebook, or hey, I may have, but he did introduce himself to me, and he will talk more about his specialty right now and how he got involved in it. But he was kind enough to bring me some samples, and they were delicious and nutritious. And now I'm hoping that he'll share his knowledge with us, and maybe we can figure out how to grow some of this stuff, you know, in our homes, besides just outside in the garden. So he is from Putnam County. He's going to tell you a little bit about himself. Maybe he's got into it. You know, we're going to give you about 15, 20, 25 minutes, whatever you feel like. We'll take some questions and answers after the meeting. So Baxter, Mallory.
Yeah.
And wait, the first question I have, are you any relation to Linda and Roy Mallory?
Okay, not that I know of, because I'm originally from California, and all the Mallorys I've met have been out of Kanawha County, and I know I'm not related to them.
Okay.
So I would say if you're related to them, you know, probably not.
We are,
yeah. The Mallorys I come from settled in Missouri, and then eventually moved to Texas, and eventually moved to California during the 60s. So that's how my family tree got up there. My name is Baxter Mallory. As I said, I'm originally from California, Oildale, California, which is right outside of Bakersfield. It is the sister city. Bakersfield is the sister city to Taft and Fresno. They were the hub of oil in California I guess on land, not offshore. My family grew up out there. My dad worked for Shell Oil Company, and when I was very young, my dad taught me about sprouts, how you could take like bean sprouts and you could grow them in water, and in about a week you had very nutritious, tasty sprouts. And it was very common in California cuisine to have sprouts to put in tacos and burritos, on sandwiches and everything else in our salad. So it was something that I grew up with. When I graduated from high school, I started out at University of the Pacific, UOP Tigers. It's a Division II school now. Back then, I'm not quite sure what it was rated as, but I did not do well my first semester. I played around and partied more than I paid attention in college, and it was to my benefit, because to my benefit, I was cut off from my dad paying for my college. So I had to come up with money somehow. So one of the things that I started doing is I would raise some sprouts and sell them to other people in college. But one of the other things that happened was I had to find out a way to pay for my college. So I saw a commercial in the 80s, Be All You Can Be, for anybody that is of Generation X. And I decided to join the U.S. Army and was assigned to the 82nd Airborne. I'm a 4-tour combat veteran. And one of the things through combat is that very often you experience PTSD. And so I sort of dedicated my work after military to helping those in mental health. And I've been a first responder as EMS in Cabell County, Putnam County, Kanawha County, and really just was driven toward helping other people that help my mental health. And why I work where I currently work right now, which is the Behavioral Health Center, the psych ward at CAMC, and talking to a fellow veteran, he said, "What's that on your face?" And I was like, "Oh, that's just a age spot, a liver spot. You know, it's been there. My doctor checks it every year." And a few months later, I had my normal checkup, and my doctor said, "Well, something's different about this." And of course, this is in the middle of COVID. And he said, "It's grown really fast, and it's grown really big in less than 6 months." And I'm like, "Okay, what does that mean?" And he said, "We need to do a biopsy." So sent me, and I got a biopsy, and I had a 9-centimeter melanoma on my face that showed up in under 6 months. I was terrified. A lot of times when you find out about something like that, you decide to make some lifestyle choices. And one of those things, since leaving the military, I've adapted to, not to be unkind, the West Virginia lifestyle, which is a little more gravy and a little less green. And I like both, but I just made those conscious choices all the time. And when I realized that I was going to have this great obstacle, I started looking into what could I do naturally to change some things. And in reading, I found out broccoli microgreens, due to a study that was done in 2013 at the University of Maryland, 2012 in the University of Maryland, is the highest concentrated sources of anti-cancer fighting agents in natural food. And I'm like, well, I've tried sprouts. I haven't tried greens. That one patient told me about greens. I was like, I'm going to find out more about greens. And so thanks to the internet, I started looking up, and I found lots of resources. There's videos on how to grow them, on what to do if you're having problems growing them. And that's what got me interested in microgreens. So, and I'm gonna ask some questions because I don't know the level of anybody's education here. When we first start, we plant the seed and it drives that taproot down, that main root, that is what would be the sprout. And normally sprouts are grown hydroponically, just in water and air, and not in a soil medium, okay? That's one of the things that makes sprouts risky, is because one of the benefits of being in the soil is it helps fight pathogens that may get on it, and water. Even if you try to use a clean source, you can end up with things like listeria. And a number of years ago, West Virginia said you can no longer be a farmer commercially of sprouts because they have a listeria breakout. Okay, listeria, bad organism, will make you violently ill, can cause problems to your liver and these type of things. So right away, I was like, I don't know that I want to do this. And then I kept doing research and found out that microgreens are planted in a medium, a soil medium. It can be actual soil. It can be sand. It can be what I use, which is an organic, clean coco coir. And the reason why I chose coco coir is it absorbs and retains moisture so well. Peat moss can be used, but there's a huge demand for peat moss, and that takes away from the world's peat moss resources, and there's excess of coco coir. One of the things you need to pay attention is that you're getting a good, clean source. I get mine from Burpee. They come in little bricks, right about the size of a brick. But when you add water to it, it turns out to be like 3.5, 4 quarts of soil medium, right? And the idea with a microgreen is because it's in the soil, you're going to be growing up out of the soil until it produces its first leaves. Now, I will probably mispronounce it, so I'll say it 2 different ways. Those first leaves are called the cotyledon or cotyledon, depending. I find out that's kind of regional, although I think the dictionary says it's only one way. But between those first leaves and the seed or the bean itself, nature has all the nutrients it needs to start that plant. Every single individual microgreen is eventually going to be one whole plant. This is a dun sweet pea. And you can pass that along. You can see the root structure. It's not grown under the soil, it's grown on the soil. It needs the soil to thrust its roots down, and then because you plant it very dense, you can see how densely the seeds, right? They're very close together. Normally, you might only have 20 of these and plant them in a row to make a bed of peas. Here, you probably have 200 of them, right? And as you can see, the bottom, the root structure comes through the soil medium and the roots intertwine, right? And this was from last Saturday's harvest. Peas take approximately 8 days to grow. Sometimes I can get this to loosen up a little. There we go. All right. You can see the coco coir. You can see where it's incorporated. Right? Let everybody there. I don't know if it'll focus right for you. Right?
Come up and let's see, I'll show you. I'll direct you back. So come on up a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Well, come on up towards, I want to see this. We're all learning here. look at that. Okay.
Can you see that?
Uh-huh.
Hold up. Can you see this soil?
Uh-huh. Excellent.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
So the benefits of microgreens. Well, it was the COVID stuff, right? We're all wearing the mask. We're socially distancing. It changed how we work. We went to the grocery store, and I guess toilet paper is made out of something special because it all went somewhere, not my house, right? Things became hard to find. Fresh vegetables, meat. And fortunately, I was going to my local farmers market and talking with the farmers, and I was buying locally raised meat, poultry, chicken, eggs, pork, etc., supporting local farms and buying local produce. Well, I live in an apartment. I did not have but a little 3-foot by 2-foot space that I was allowed to grow anything in. And my wife likes flowers more than she likes lettuce. And I couldn't fit a whole lot of lettuce in that spot. So as I learned with microgreens, they thrive indoors. You can put them in small trays, small planters, and you can put them in a windowsill and they'll get all the sun they need. They need somewhere between 8 and 12 hours of natural sun, right? If you can't get natural, you can supplement it, right? You can see how concentrated. This is daikon radish. And you can see how dense it is. Put that up.
Yeah, looks good. You can come a little closer. We're learning here. Yeah, look at that. Okay.
Okay.
Excellent. Thank you.
Daikon radish. This was seeded 4 days ago.
4 days.
4 days. So we go through the process and we put in our garden and we're waiting. Well, in 5 to 21 days, you can have a full harvest. These peas, when I harvested them on Saturday, were 6 days old and they were this tall. Now, there were no peas on them, but the peas taste like peas. They have all the nutrients that will eventually move into the vegetables in the plant. So they're extremely nutritionally dense. And that's what excited me about it, because I had a little spare bedroom. I spent about $100 on a little metal rack, but you could just use shelves or a table. And I spent 80 some odd dollars for 12 6,000 lumen full spectrum LED lamps that were really long. If you go into Walmart or your Home Depot, you're going to spend 40, 50 bucks for one light strip. But if you buy them in bulk, you can get 12 of them. So I can put 2 under each of the wire racks. And then I got some trays, 10 by 20s. These are a little more sturdy because every single week I'm harvesting and then cleaning the trays and having to do it again. The thinner trays that I use for traditional growing and sprouting, they'll work for a very short time and then you'll be buying more trays. But these come as sprouting trays. They specifically have holes to allow all those roots to go down through. And you can find all different sizes, 10 by 10, 5 by 10, 5 by 5, which you could grow 8 different varieties in one tray. Put this up so.
Yeah.
That's right.
So
You can grow a whole salad, I guess.
what I found out is that I could grow a whole lot of them, and I started growing broccoli for my own consumption. But the more I looked at it, I was like, wow, I could probably do this as a home-based business. Maybe someone else would like to have some. And I didn't see a whole lot of people doing it. Ironically, coming out of the first wave of COVID, more people started doing it because they got the same idea, which is great because just like having several farms, there's plenty of customers as well as consumers ourselves and our family that are interested in them. For the most part, they all taste like you would think they would taste. Daikon radish tastes like radish. Broccoli does not taste like broccoli. It's part of the brassica family. And much like other cabbages, it sort of tastes like cabbage, right? Because it's still in its leafy stage, right? Kale tastes like kale, but kale was already a leafy vegetable, right? This, and you can see how light and wispy, would eventually become romaine lettuce. It almost looks like fine hairs. You can see. I apologize.
That's all right. Come in.
See how light and wispy that is? Right? You folks see that? So, romaine, does it taste like romaine? It has hints of romaine, right? But it doesn't taste strongly like romaine. How about some others? One of the most popular ones on the market is sunflower. Sunflower microgreens are 20% plant protein. That's the highest amount of plant protein to any plant known to man so far. The closest is kelp. So this is what you can get above ground. It's rich in vitamin C, niacin, well, a whole list of vitamins. A lot of iron, natural iron. It's one of the microgreens that is recommended for pregnant women because it has abundant source of everything that you would find in prenatal vitamins. And the nice thing is, instead of folate, folic acid is created. Folate, I believe, is natural. Your body processes folate better. It's also a natural expectorant. I didn't know that. Both my kids, adult children, have asthma. And when they would eat it, they'd be like, Dad, I'm not using my inhaler as much. It naturally helps the bronchi open up. And I was like, wow, here we are in COVID, where everybody's worried about breathing, and I have something that's tasty. It tastes like sunflower seeds and a sweet leaf. So very tasty. I'll open this up and make it available. People can try it. And I have some stuff that everybody can take whatever they want home. I have examples of the trays, but when you plant it, you're going to take the seed, or excuse me, the sprouting tray and put it in a solid tray. This is why trays are better, but I'll be honest with you, just for fun, I took the top half of a to-go tray and just put soil in it. I had to watch how much I watered it so it wouldn't be overwatered, but it grew, right? Nature will find a way. And where it's counterintuitive to what we're taught, because when we put it in a garden, we want things 6 inches, 8 inches, 12 inches, not next to this because, you know, they create problems. You need as neutral a soil medium as you can find. That's why I use Coco Coir. Your water needs to be as neutral as possible. So if you're using tap water, check your water for alkalinity, right? And if you need to, you can either add a little bit of baking soda at a time, or you can add a little bit of vinegar or lemon juice to raise its pH or lower its pH. You don't have to go out and get special drops or anything like that, right? Great thing that I've learned is that gardening is also chemistry because it's life, right? And then once you put the soil on, you're going to wet the soil. And I just use a spray bottle. I apologize. I did not grab it, but just like I first had like a little one off the dollar rack. Well, that broke like in a week and a half. I used it way too much. So then I got like a more industrial one that you find in the cleaning area, the custodial area. And that one seems to work really good. You just missed. It needs to have moisture. Remember, it'll retain the moisture. And then it needs to be dark, generally for the first 3 to 4 days. So you take a second one and place it right over top. And you can stack these up because it's dark. And it's on top. And the benefit of having another tray, or if it's just one tray, you put some weight, like a couple of bricks in there, is it mimics when they're underground. It's dark and they can feel weight and they naturally start pushing, start growing and pushing up. And what will happen in 2 to 3 days, this will be above and you can see all kinds of microgreens pushing out the sides. It's amazing how much they can push. Because I will stack these 4 and 5 high and put 2 bricks on top. And the bottom one has pushed up all of the top ones, and each of the top ones have pushed up. And every day I pull them down. I take the top off, spritz, rotate it to the bottom, move the next one up so they're rotating through. They're all getting equal amount of pressure. If you're only doing one tray, you don't have to do that. You can just spritz it, cover it, put your weight back on. When it's coming up and you can see that gap and you can see it, it's time to take your weight off. And you'll notice at that point, if you lift up, your root structure will be making its way through here, and you'll water from the tray at this point. So you'll just lift up the edge of the tray and you'll start with 1 cup of water. If it's a 10 by 20 tray, right? 1 cup of water in the morning and 1 cup of water at night. And then a couple days later, it'll be 1.5 cups. Now, every green drinks more. The peas and the sunflowers drink a lot. So you're going to find they're going to want more. You're going to watch your soil. And the nice thing about Coco Coir is it's either dark red or it's light and sandy like it looks right here, right? So you know how wet it is if you need to water it more often or give it more water. I've never had to give it more than 2 cups in the morning and 2 cups in the evening. I have some PDF handouts that I will send to John, and they will make available. It tells you how much seed by weight to use. It tells you how long you would keep it dark. But on that 3rd or 4th day, most of them, you flip this over and there's no weight. And what happens is they're short, but because they were pushing up, they're bent over like this. The plant is bent over. So when you give it dark, but nothing to push, it unfolds and stretches up. Nature's a miracle by any point, right? And then all of a sudden, a day or 2 later, it's raised up again. But now it's pushing with just the greens. At that point, you take it off. And If you want to accelerate growth, you can put a clear dome over it, like a plastic clear dome, but you don't have to. If you're just growing it in a little tray, you can set it over by the windowsill and it'll continue to grow. You just add a little bit of water. And that's the thing is, don't overwater, make sure your water is pH balanced, and just experiment. The first time I made leeks, I made leek mud because I watered and watered and watered and watered. And all my little leeks laid in the mud. It looked like a horrible swamp and it smelled worse, right? Because bacteria, too much water created bacteria, the leeks are laying down in it, and it wasn't pleasant. I was like, well, I'm not going to do this very long. But the more I practice, the more I learned each individual one. So much fun, and there's so many nutrients that you can get out of them. Any questions? Do you feel like, I had a question about this when you were talking? And
how do you harvest them?
What's that?
How do you harvest?
Fantastic. Really sharp knife, and I don't have my pocket knife for it. Really sharp knife. I usually have any with me right now. I put on medical grade gloves, right? And you'll take it, and right under, you want to make sure to curl your fingers under, and you're just let the knife cut through it and come up, and you'll have microgreens. Now, we do not wash them because they're grown clean, but we have a comment because we do ours commercially that we recommend, just like any other produce, that you wash before use. Because they're grown such a short period, we use no pesticides, no herbicides. There's nothing we have to add. Nature has everything in that seed to provide you nutritious organic food. Like there could be a food shortage and you have everything that you need with a variety of microgreens to hit every vitamin and mineral your body could possibly need. And it can be growing on a shelf inside, snow 4 feet outside, as long as your generator runs the lights, I guess, right? I do have to say, we did have a cold storm that came through, and and right after that, I went out and got a generator. Yeah. My neighbors in the apartment building think I'm crazy because I'm the only apartment owner that has a Jenny on their back porch. But
and when you
they take a week to 3 weeks, depending on the variety. So if I lose power for 3 days and it's snowy and cloudy outside, I lose a whole crop. But here's the great news. Even with the density of seed, when you buy it in bulk, and I'll give you sources where they sell it in bulk and it's cheap, and it's certified the highest germination rate on the market, 95% and up. And they back it up. If you're not getting good germination, you call them to buy the whole pound of seed back, or 5 pounds. Sunflower, this last year I went through 50 pounds of black oil sunflower. That's a lot.
Yes.
That's a lot. And dense, you know, but 4 trays grows a whole lot of sunflower.
So when you trim that top layer
yes.
off, it regenerates.
Well, it's a plant. It does. But like you can see, this is beginning to put out new leaves, and it's beginning, but you are going to find, because the seed is given everything up, that when they test nutritionally, second harvest has approximately 65 to 70% of the nutrients as first harvest. So as a commercial producer, I don't do that. What I do is a lot of it, I compost it, and it turns into fantastic composting. I don't have enough room to compost at my apartment complex. I have a friend that has a worm farm that makes worm tea, and I give him free stuff to compost, and he gives me free worm tea so that I can put it on my other plants. Work with other people around you, other gardeners. I have this. What do you have? Can I swap this for that? Right? Yes, ma'am.
On your second harvesting, instead of harvesting them, can you plant them?
Yes.
Around and then you'll plant them?
Yes. And you were talking about germinating and this. If you do this method, even if you do it in a smaller thing, right, you can pull, and I can take that, and even in the winter when I can't grow, I can set up a real inexpensive hydroponic and pop it right in there and put a lattice work and I'll have fresh done peas early spring earlier than I would normally have them. So absolutely yes, because it can still grow the whole plant. You're just not going to get the full nutrition out of the greens. Fantastic question.
But if I put them in dirt,
Yes.
would then they give
Yes.
better nutrition?
Yeah. I don't, but yes, you can.
Yeah, you would fertilize.
Yeah, I mean, you would want to go ahead and get a more traditional sprouting soil or seedling soil that's going to be very nutrient rich, but also very neutral, very close to 0, right, to get it started. And then, you know, you may want to transplant it just like you would a normal seedling into your garden bed, right? Great question, by the way. Anybody have any other questions?
So you don't wash this?
I don't. I'll be honest with you. I eat them. I eat them all the time.
Right.
Like right off. And because I'm very particular about what we put commercially to sell, like when we're harvesting, I'm sitting there, ugly, good. Right? I'm looking at them like, all right, these look good. Those uglies, while I'm waiting for the next trading roll, I'm popping them in my mouth like they were potato chips.
What about the structure of the soil? Can you reuse that soil? Or how does that?
And there are people on the internet that say they have reused the soil and they have had mixed results with it. I've never tried. Most everybody that I follow that has very successful as far as businesses find it's better if they compost it first and then they can just use the recycled compost. So, but that's a great question too. It's not impossible.
You all want to?
Yes, absolutely. So I have a number of things and I will just put them up here. I'll talk about them real quick. I have broccoli, the one that originally started, right? Sunflower, daikon radish. I have a summer salad mix that has a lot of ingredients in it, including dun peas, sunflower, broccoli, daikon radish, romaine lettuce, red acre cabbage, Bates blue kale.
Have you tried herb?
What's that?
Have you tried herb?
Yes,
Like
yeah.
cilantro
You
or
can actually do herb because like onions and stuff technically are an herb, and you can grow those as microgreens as well. Now some of them, I'll tell you, basil, it's like only that tall. It's one of the hardest ones to harvest. And it's like, am I going to cut my hand? And unfortunately, basil seed is very expensive. But basil microgreens are the most aromatic and most pungent, virulent version of basil you will ever have. My customers that are basil customers, they know the seed is more expensive. A whole tray will harvest that much because it's just small leaves and they won't, by the time they get bigger, then they'll split into the first true leaves. And the minute it splits into first true leaves beyond the cotyledon, the green will start to get bitter because all of the nutrients have run past those leaves. They call the first true leaves the cotyledon before that. right? Great question. Great question. I can't really sell a lot of it because I do it and people go, oh, nice. And then they go, oh, wow, that's kind of expensive. You're looking at about 200 basil plants worth of concentrated basil in that. For someone that is a foodie or a chef, they love it. The average person would be like, just go ahead and grow the basil. Pick the leaves off of it, which by the way, that's what I do. I do like the taste, but it's 3 weeks worth of work for basil. Spinach, basil, beets. Oh my gosh, beets are so gorgeous. Detroit red beets. They have all the wonderful flavor of a beet without that rooty, earthy flavor because the beet's underground. And the stem of it looks like spun ruby. And then the leaves are like a dark green. You put it out and you're just like, it's gorgeous. You know, fine dining and Asian cooking, a lot of times they use microgreens as edible garnish because it's super nutritious and it just looks so beautiful. As far as like salad mix and stuff, people say, well, how do I use this? I don't know. How do you use fresh chives? How do you use, fresh mint? How do you chop it up and add it to things that you like? Put it in eggs, omelets, on pizza, in roll-ups, in sandwiches. If you're going to put it in something like soup or a stew, don't put it in and it'll cook all the nutrients out of it and just become bland floating strings. And it's not going to be palatable or beneficial. But right after you finish cooking the soup and you're about ready to serve it, you sit there and sprinkle on top, and it'll add aromatics and flavor and nutrients. And it's not about sitting there going, oh, I gotta eat all this week or something. That's, that's a lot. If you don't eat a lot of salad or something, it's about adding a little bit of it here and here and here. And one benefit, a little over a year ago, I was almost 425 pounds. I'm 325 pounds. All I did was change what I was putting in my food, and all of a sudden, I haven't started walking. I walk a lot up on the psych unit, trust me, like 16,000 steps in a 12-hour shift, but I'm not doing any specific exercise. I changed and gave my body the nutrients it was craving, and I had less cravings for foods that I probably shouldn't have been eating.
So tell us where, because you're a retail, where are your outlets?
Okay.
Because we're all going to go home and do this.
Right, and I encourage you, and you know what? If you make a business out of it, awesome. That's great. I am 100% not worried about you. Now, if you and 5 of your family members and 6 of your best friends all open, I would be worried. But the truth is that being a business owner is a lot more than just growing what you enjoy to eat and what you want to give to friends and stuff like that. It's a lot of work, okay? And you have regulations that you're monitored under. They have to come check your grow space initially and randomly. So, it's like having a kitchen, a restaurant. They're going to come and do a health department check on you, right? So you have to make sure you meet certain standards. But you can find our stuff in the Wild Ramp in Huntington. Okay. There are other providers that are there. If we don't have a certain flavor or a certain type, by all means, I encourage you to buy from my competition. One of the things that you'll find out about microgreen producers, we are not backstabbers. We are encouragers because we're trying to get people to realize the mighty power of these little tiny plants. I did have one person say, well, if that's gonna be a whole plant, that's a whole lot more people. True. But if you take broccoli, and there's more than 200 plants in there, the microgreens are 40 times more nutrient dense than the actual vegetable itself. And there's 200. What's 200 times 40? 8,000? Could you eat 8,000 plants of broccoli in a year? Number one, you wouldn't want to be around me. I would probably be very gassy. Number two, and this is a confession, as I've gotten older, more of my teeth are not there. It becomes harder to eat broccoli in its best form, which is raw or al dente, so that you get the maximum nutritional benefit. And this is way easier to sprinkle on something and chop up. And they have the seed. They have the seed out there. Companies are growing the seed for this industry. Last year, over $12 billion nationwide in microgreens. And you probably only know one person in 20 that has ever even tried them. And it's at 12 billion. So it is a growing market. But more importantly, there's other reasons why, right? I'm 54. I got 2 grown kids, beautiful wife for 33 years, kind of wanted to still be here. So it was worth putting something up in the windowsill till I decided to expand to a rack. And literally spent less than $500. And the first time I went to market, I made over 250. How many businesses could you start and recoup 50% of your startup cost your first weekend? Right? Yes, ma'am.
So you're saying if you took 4 ounces of microgreens,
Yes.
broccoli, and they're 40 times more dense in nutrients.
Each, and this is by the study that was done in Maryland, they say each green is 40 times more nutritionally dense. And I encourage you, if you just typed in Google University of Maryland research microgreens, boom, you're going to get all that type of information that you need.
Okay.
But yeah.
My point is,
Yes.
4 ounces
Yes.
of grown microgreens,
Yes.
40 times as dense is equal to 160 ounces of broccoli,
Yes, ma'am.
which is 10 pounds.
Yes, ma'am. Nutritionally, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. This is why the next biggest industry is big pharma, trying to say we don't have to grow huge fields. We can collect these phytonutrients, and they're reclaiming. I'm an urban farm in a building. They take old warehouses that businesses have gone out, and they put racks to the ceiling, and they have automatic waterers, and they have people that pull all those off and put them on runners, and they go down and slice, and they squeeze them to extract the nutrients out of them. And then they take what's left, the pulp, and they compost it. They send it. One of the things that I do, these lovely peas, I give them to my local chicken farmers, my free-range chicken farmers. They say their favorite thing when those chickens see the tray coming, they oh, sweet peas, baby. We don't ever get sweet peas. And they love them. And they'll pick this, and all the cocoa coir and everything will go down in the soil naturally. So, but yes, you are correct. Now, broccoli is one of those highest examples. Okay, most of the others are somewhere between 4 and 8 times as nutrient or as nutritionally dense. But if I don't have to eat a huge plate of salad, and I can just add a sprinkle in my omelet and I'll take a whole wheat toast and some avocado and put some spinach on it and some fresh sliced tomatoes out of my garden and drizzle with a little balsamic and sit there and sprinkle some daikon radish on it. I guarantee you that's a breakfast you thought you'd never have. And you'll just be like, that was extremely tasty. I think I'll make another one. Well, eating 2 of those is better than eating Tudor's biscuits. Please forgive me, Ocean Crago. I paid for at least 1 vehicle.
Don't forget, you do have a Facebook page also,
Yes,
which helps people. I noticed, I still think that's how we got in touch.
yes, I think it is.
Yeah.
Normally, our larger boxes sell for $10. Please take these. They will last in your refrigerator if you keep it
Yes.
toward the front, anywhere from 2 to 3 weeks.
Yes.
Okay, when you put it toward the back, it's too cold, and the tiny cellular structure of the greens compress and turn into mush, and then they smell, and then you'll be like, yeah, I don't want that. But you can see the beauty of the greens. This one has, you can see on the side, sweet dun peas, red acre cabbage, broccoli, and sunflower. That is what that is what I've named our Sunny and Share mix. Sunny for sunflower and share with friends because it's a larger box. And yes, we got you, babe. We got you, babe. Gotta love American marketing, don't you? One of the side benefits that I got out of growing greens, and I didn't realize I was going to get with my PTSD, is the calmness of being in your garden, of coming back after a stressful day and going, wow, look what's grown. Look who's new. You know, my peas be this high. I go to work, I come back, they're 6 inches tall. Look at you, little buddies. I'm so proud of you. Seriously, there's all kinds of flavors and stuff. I'm going to leave them up here. Please take one. If you don't see anybody taking one, take 2, hand them to a friend. I have a peppery radish mix that is purple sango radish and daikon radish. I have daikon radish. I have a broccoli and daikon radish box. Broccoli is very popular, so I'm going to keep a lot of it. Any other questions? Anybody?
You sell at the Wild Round anywhere
Yes.
else?
And then
We
market,
are
Putnam County?
working to get in the Kroger's in Hayes Valley.
Aren't you
The
doing
new beauty Kroger's.
the farmers markets that part?
Yes, yeah.
Putnam County and
Yeah, we're at the farmer's market down at Pullman Square. When it happens, if you follow its page, you'll see that we're there. And every week we're at the Putnam market as well. Any other great questions? How about horrible questions? Give me horrible questions. Yes, ma'am. Yours have all been great. Your questions aren't horrible.
Do you sell starter kits with a little bit of several kinds of seeds?
you sell.
Can what?
Starter kits with
Do you
a
sell
seed.
in?
I don't, but one of the links that I'm going to send for, and I apologize, there was communication. I'll say it's on me. I have recorded this as tomorrow. So John called me and said, please tell me you're on the way. And I'm in Hayes Valley, and I'm like, I'll be there in 20 minutes. And I'm like stuffing things on the tray. He's running here. I had a presentation. I had pass out paper. What I will do is I will provide links and PDFs that will tell you how much to grow. Just like any recipe that you would make in the kitchen, if you're using a smaller size container, use your fractions. Divide. Right? Measure your square inches per 10 by 20 tray.
Yeah.
And take your square inches of whatever vessel you're going to plant them in. And that's how much seed you should put. Right? So,
That's good.
great questions, by the way. I did a class up at Holy Moly. And I had one person show up. I was very dejected. But she came up and she was in a wheelchair. She was like, I just want to be able to grow something. I can't get outside. And I heard I could grow these indoors.
Oh.
And I was like, yes, yes, you can. And I couldn't wait to tell her. And at the end, she was like, I'm so excited. I was like, here you go. And then I was like, gosh, I really hope that she does. Like 3 weeks later, she sent me a picture of her first green. She had just taken them out from the dark. Oh, I'm so proud of you. And she's like, yeah, I'm excited too. I need to eat better. Obviously, if you're in a wheelchair, you're probably not eating real well. So that was her motivation. She wanted to be able to enjoy growing when she was younger, before she had a car accident. She used to like to grow things. Now she's older. She can't really grow things except for plants. One of the other things that we grow is organic wheatgrass. And wheatgrass is very popular for juicing. It has a tremendous amount of nutrients. It has a citrus finish. So if you add it as a garnish, citrus finish. But who here has pets? Cats, dogs? Anybody? All right. One of the first things, cat gets a hairball. It'll start looking for a plant to chew on or something. It is an instinctual thing to try to get a gob of grass to go, and it helps get that down, right? A dog, upset stomach. And you're going, oh no, please, please, it just got the carpet, please. Dogs, the minute you take outside, what are they doing? They're saying, and trying to eat the grass. It is their way of regulating their gut. You place a small one of these with organic wheatgrass next to their food bowl, they'll be eat, drink, drink, drink. They're getting fiber, they're getting nutrients, it's organic, and it's helping their IBS, their gut health, right? Fantastic. You will see the cats, if you have one that is territorial, it'll be like, and laying on it. This is my grass. Y'all can't stay away. So you might have to get like one for the rest of the cats and one for that one. If you have a dog that's territorial, or if they fight over their food, you may have to get one for each bowl. Because you're putting it down, you'll have a little tray, you'll add just a little water each day, it'll continue to grow as they eat it. It's going to be away from the sunlight though, so about every 2 to 3 days, pick it up, go set it in the windowsill while you go to work or during your day, bring it back down, guess what? Photosynthesis happens. It was a little yellow and it's relaxed a little bit and all of a sudden it turns green. And it's wheatgrass. How tall will it grow? Well, if they're not eating it, that little thing will be 3-4 feet because it's wheat. You won't be growing wheat. And maybe someone in your house wants to brew beer. I don't know. Or whiskey or.
Well, Baxter, we thank you very much for coming to see us and for bringing all this nutritious,
Someone please take this daikon radish home and
yeah.
continue to grow it. It has about 5 days left before you should harvest it. And it will be fresh. And all you have to do, get a saucer, put this in it, probably about quarter cup of water in the morning, quarter cup in the evening. Right? Try to keep it near a windowsill.
And he's going to leave us these, so
Yes.
we can take some home. And
But he gave me this one and everybody saw that, right?
Yes. if that's the one you want, possession is 9/10 of the law.
they are, they are delicious.
Oh, I know. I was a product of the 70s, so I grew.
Yeah.
You remember Sprouts?
I grew these.
I grew sprouts and ate sprouts.
Yes.
But
And
that's all we had to eat.
yeah, and I can't commercially, but we still grow sprouts. We do them in mason jars with the vented lid, and we love sprouts. We add those to our diet as well. Was there anything that you saw that you were like, oh wow, look at that? Or was there anything that you were like, I had no idea. Why isn't this like available in a grocery store if it's that nutritious?
Yeah.
Okay. Because the produce industry wants to use chemicals and et cetera to grow a product that lasts really long, that'll stay. I'm not they're feeding the world.
Yeah.
But at what cost?
Mhm.
Anything else? The seed, the company that I buy from, that I'll give you the link, every single seed is non-GMO seed. It's all 100% original seed. The patient, the literally schizophrenic that couldn't hold a conversation with a wall but tried to every day, that took 2 minutes and told me about greens that he grows at home.
Mhm.
I was like, wow. And was like, this guy's, yeah, whatever. And the fact that he asked me about this, and I was just like, well, maybe I need to look into what that was. So, and my big guy upstairs that looks out over for me.
Oh, yeah.
So, thank you. I'm gonna
Make
stay,
sure-
be quiet over here.
Take some cupcake before you go. There's nutritional value here.
Yeah.
What,
Sprinkle a few sprouts on it.
yeah. Oh, by the way, there are dessert microgreens. One of my favorite dessert microgreens to make, I'll give you two real quick. You take the sunflower seeds
Uh-huh.
and you dip them in dark chocolate. If you're really trying to go for more nutritious, sweet, you get the nuttiness of the sunflower seed and you dip the chocolate, which is dark chocolate is the best. The other thing that we do, we take strawberries when they're first coming out and we core them and we stick a bunch of the sunflower greens in and clip it at the bottom so they're not sticking out the bottom, and they now become where the leaves of the strawberries were, and then we'll dip and drizzle them in chocolate and have chocolate covered strawberries and
Sunflower.
sunflower. Right.
Right.
Look, just because it's a pretty sweet tasting
Yeah.
microgreen anyway.
Yeah.
So, all right, I'm gonna promise,
Thank you.
I'm gonna shut up.
Thank
He
you.
won't